Hey YouTube, it's Lana, and this is from Corporate to Crystals. Today I have a little bit of a different vibe. I'm like with my blanket and kind of like feet up on my desk. But some days be like that, you know? So I wanted to show up, excuse me, authentically with whatever's going on my voice. Um, Today's video is going to be a Life of a Divine Feminine video. This will be my second episode of this. I think it's, I don't know what's going on with my voice. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. Okay, anyway, I think that this theme in my life is collective and I wanted to share it. There's a download that came through that pieced together a couple things in my world. And it was beautiful and it's relevant and I want to share it. It's relevant to every single person on this planet. So it's worth sharing. Okay, so over the last couple weeks, my last Life of a Divine Feminine video was very focused on love. Still a hot topic in my life. Not exactly hot, but it's like a hot topic. Today's not going to be about that. Today's going to be about how the divine feminine energy that we all tap into, we can tap into, right? As a divine feminine twin flame, the embodiment of that energy is present in my everyday life. It's who I am at this point. And I wanted to share a way that it shows up in other situations in your life or other aspects of your life because it's awesome. It's beautiful, but it's also very difficult for others and sometimes yourself. So I had a theme of a handful of hard conversations that I had to have. And I wanted to share that with you guys because it actually is the embodiment of the divine feminine energy to step up and lean into those conversations. And I think it's something that we all should do more of. And it's also something that after I did it in all these situations, it felt so much better afterwards. It really, really did. So for both the other person and myself. And so I want to give a couple examples so you can see what that energy embodiment looks like in the 3D or in, your everyday life. So yeah, I'm going to start with a couple stories. So one, close friend, a very, very close friend who's going to watch this video probably, love you, brought a conversation. We had a general conversation randomly about a music artist who is Black. And as that conversation was brought up, it somehow became a different conversation. And as a white woman myself, my friend who is Black, a conversation was happening between us that turned into race, right? And in that moment, I felt triggered, my friend felt triggered. There was just some stuff that it could have gone in a totally different direction, but I was just super grateful that it didn't. First of all, I adore that friend. And second of all, we're trying to promote nurturing kindness, compassion, empathy, and learning through each other, right? And so in that moment, it almost creates fear of, will this conversation change the friendship dynamic? And I want to share that it totally didn't. My friend expressed something that I had said or something that we had discussed that brought something out in her. And I could have shut down in that moment because it's an uncomfortable conversation as a white woman to automatically be the uneducated one on conversations about race. But the only way for me to become educated on it is to have the conversations and be open and be the ally that I want to be, right? So yeah, I leaned in and my friend leaned in, and by the end of the conversation, we both shared areas that we felt we now have a better understanding on from different perspectives, and we both grew through the conversation. If anything, I think it created a safe space for us to kind of tear our walls down with each other and get even more intimate. So I thought that was really beautiful. In addition to that, I had a friend reach out from years ago, just randomly contacting me recently, and I was grateful to connect with him. But he's going through a heartbreak, and as I just kind of caught up with him and just listened, it became really clear to me, and he said it, that I was one of the only people in his world that, as he's going through this experience, when he is sharing that he's in pain and he's sharing he's heartbroken, I was one of the only people who just listened and understood him and didn't tell him to be positive and didn't tell him to be anything at all, to change himself at all, and just to accept his emotions for what they are today, and that they're okay and he's not alone. And, of course, my own heartbreak stories allowed me to have that empathy and understanding to be able to sit there and just be with him and ensure he felt not alone in that, but also that he was being heard. Because according to him, right now in his moment of heartbreak, every person he's tried to talk to about it, they just keep telling him to keep his head up, stay positive, and essentially push down his pain. And that's not their intention, but that's the way it comes off. For someone who's suffering, to be told to be different than what you are, duh. Like, no one wants to stay in suffering, right? So a lot of the times people push away other people's emotions in conversation because it makes them uncomfortable. And so he gave me kudos, which was a beautiful reflection for me, of my own growth and my own, empathy, that I was able to just be with someone who is going through an experience that I have a connection to, I myself have gone through, but in that moment, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about his story bringing anything up in me. It wasn't about him changing his beliefs or his attitude or his energy or his emotions to make me more comfortable. It was just about being there for him with compassion and love and kindness. And that meant tons to him, which, sorry, my laundry. That meant tons to him. And he verbalized that to me. And that made me feel like any of the time and energy, put into reconnecting with this friend, it was so worth it. For him to feel heard and seen and understood, worth it. I know in times of not just my twin flame journey, but just in life in general, we all go through experiences where we feel like no one hears us or sees us or understands us. So that was such a gift for him to receive, I'm sure, but also for me to participate in. And then the kicker, I had a really hard conversation with my dad. And my dad is like my person. I mean, he's me. He is me. It's so crazy. And we had a pretty hard conversation that, it's one of those family dynamic situations that just have built up over years and years and years. And it's almost like people pushed it under the rug. We all do that with our friends or our family. And it's like you don't want to hurt them. So you don't want to say something to them that will hurt them ever because you love them so much. But it finally got to a place after, I'm telling you, this is like a decade-long build up for our whole family dynamic, not just me and him. And I felt in that moment this need, not for me, not for my family, but for my father to hear some feedback. And I approached it in a very passionate way. And I wasn't sure how he was going to take it. It made me fearful to approach the conversation because the last thing I would ever want to do is hurt my dad or impact our dynamic because I value it so much. But yeah, I was so grateful that I did. And I had that conversation, and he said to me, he's like, I needed to hear that. He's like, I needed, although I wish I didn't hear it, I know I needed it. And I appreciate you so much for being the one to say this to me, because he admitted he did not ever want to show up the way that he was appearing to show up. And it's because he himself was fearful of changing the dynamics or the relationships, and kind of hiding and running and putting things under the rug felt more comfortable. So yeah, those are three situations that have come up for me over the last 2 weeks, I'd say, that it brought up fear for me to step up and lean into having hard conversations, that it would have been very easy for me in all three of these dynamics to just be like, excuse me, like nonchalant, what a lot of people do, which is shut down, right? The conversation about race, I could have easily shown up and just apologized and kept the convo short because I felt uncomfortable. And my friend could have done that too. Felt uncomfortable and kind of shut down, right? And we both sat there and chose to lean in and have the conversation. And same thing with my friend that I reconnected with. I could have felt uncomfortable that someone was expressing how much pain they were in. And rather than being there for them in that moment and just listening and being and letting them feel seen and heard and connected to someone, I could have felt really uncomfortable by all his pain and just been like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me know how I can help. And that's great too. And some days that is what you have to do, right? But to be able to decipher when that is, and to be able to show up and use your intuition and your inner knowing of how you would feel or what you would need in those situations, and be able to offer that as a resource. Maybe they don't need it, right? But at least you can offer it. And then the conversation with my father, I love him so much. I felt so bad. I would never, that's such an important relationship to me. It felt so scary to risk it at all or to change it at all. And man, he thanked me. Like, what a blessing that is. So yeah, those are three situations, and although vague they're private conversations, but at the same time, it shows you like that divine feminine energy of showing up as nurturing and showing up as compassionate, empathetic, and understanding, heart-centered. In those situations, sometimes it can show up as tough or hard or difficult. Both you showing up to have that conversation and also the conversation confronting you. But man, on the other side, it unites people, and it is true intimacy, true connection. That energy promotes it within both people to create a safe space and show up to help heal. Where we are our own best healer, we just have to allow ourselves those opportunities. So yeah, I wanted to share that. I think that those are three, different relationship dynamics that have nothing to do with love. Of course, I love all of them, but it's not romantic love. And yeah, that's an experience that I've been going through Mercury retrograde. Those all popped up, and it's a blessing. It's true medicine to be able to deepen my connection and intimacy with the people in my life that I love and care about, and to be able to be there for them too. So I wanted to offer that wisdom to you guys. Maybe it's something you are going through as well. And if so, I would just tell you, lean in, it's worth it. And I'm sending you my love, and I hope you're having an incredible week. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.